talk about
Sure.
what we're doing, and then you can maybe talk about your own story.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. As you guys probably have realized, I was kind of a last-minute add-on here, so I was okay with sitting at the kids' chair, but Lisa got me an adult-sized chair, but thank you. So yeah, I feel like this topic resonated with me personally because I went through it with my team and this guy right here next to me and other J-Lo over there. They were a big part of this scaling question. And with these, with the LeadersConnect and kind of what to Rob said, you know, we want to make these events and these conversations applicable to all aspects of business, and this is one that I feel like if you are in business, this applies to you. So, quick story on my experience with the whole scaling question. As you guys know, I'm co-owner with Mike Stack at Applied Fitness Solutions. We started in 2007. We had one location in Ann Arbor that's still there. We did scale to 2 other locations, one in Plymouth, Michigan, and one in Rochester, Michigan. And fast forward to this year, we're back to 1 location here in Ann Arbor. So we went through a scaling process. And we did so in a way that I would not take back the lessons we've learned, because we wouldn't be where we are without going through that process. And we had a lot of hiccups along the way. So high level, our vision was to make fitness and health coaching accessible to everyone. Right now, there's some stats where 20% of our country engages with health and fitness. The other 80% does not. So talk about opportunity to change population health and public health. That was our vision. Even though if we didn't clearly articulate it or have it written down on the wall, that was what we wanted to accomplish. And then fast forward, when did you and I meet? When did you come on the scene?
2019?
I think it was before that.
Before that.
It was 2016. So we were just opening up our Plymouth location, I believe. We got connected with Jeremy because my business partner, the founder, Mike, we had to figure out, okay, we have these locations that we're opening up. We don't know how to structure ourselves. We don't know how to scale. Organizationally, we were kind of all over the place. So Jeremy helped us get connected on a clear why, or at least clarity at that point, clear enough to start taking some action. So we put together a mission statement. We put together a vision statement. We got our values locked and loaded. And then we went forward and we opened up these locations. And they were, at the time, what felt very successful. Our team was operating them. We felt like we were going to grow into these locations. And then we kind of got hit with the big halt in 2019, 2018. We felt, hey, the finances aren't lining up with our efforts here. Our Ann Arbor location is doing great, but our Ann Arbor location is having to fund the Plymouth location. And it's also having to fund the Rochester location. So we were in the red for a long time, longer than what we wanted to be. And this wasn't even this was prior to when COVID hit. So we had some serious doubts on the viability of our ability to scale and if we were even going to be in business for much longer. And then COVID came, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin. You know, our community, we tried to keep Plymouth going. We tried to keep our Rochester location going. A lot of tears shed by us and members, but at the end of the day, we strategically scaled back to our Ann Arbor location. The reflections I have on that process was we were trying to achieve an outcome of making the population healthier and making health and fitness accessible through the wrong vehicle. We were trying to scale via fitness. And when I think back of the population that needs our help the most, that 80% of people that don't engage in health and wellness, they don't trust our industry. If you guys have ever, I mean, how many people see fitness ads and marketing and messaging of 20-year-old, 25-year-old, young, jacked, fit people that say you got to go 12 weeks of this challenge and you got to follow this diet, and if you don't, you're not going to succeed? I mean, the 80% of people that don't look at fitness, they're not going to resonate with that message. So we took a step back in 2021 when we shut down the other locations, and my partner and I said, we want to achieve this outcome, but we can't do it through fitness. Us wanting to scale fitness businesses isn't going to penetrate the market. We need a different vehicle. And we wouldn't have realized that if we didn't go through the several-year painful process of scaling and failing. So now we are in the process of rebranding and achieving that outcome through healthcare. So I'll leave it at that. I want to pass the mic on, but I'm so grateful for the experiences. I'm so grateful to have people like Jeremy and Rob and J-Lo, because you need external people to kind of point things out and shine the flashlight on areas that you're not seeing because you're in the business.
We have Jeremy talk, JS. And Jeremy, can you just introduce yourself a little bit more?
Yeah, I was-
Such an interesting background.
Yeah, just in terms of the flow of this, do we want to get everybody's sort of intro in?
Yeah.
So I'll just give a little background because there's an awful lot to respond to there. But we could go down that hole and not come back out for an hour or two. So, yeah. So my name is Jeremy Seligman. I guess you can you use my middle name. I'm Jay Lee, and that's J Lo. Yeah, I think we'll go with that.
No, really.
See, I just made it worse. So I am an organizational development and organizational growth, organizational learning specialist. Been doing this work for a number of years. I had a corporate career, first in Rochester, New York at Xerox and at Frontier that became Global Crossing. Came here, spent a number of years at Ford, did some work in organizational development for a while at U of M, and then got involved in another venture around development that I'm going to come back to in just a minute. So that's like the highest flyover resume I know how to give.
Just a couple minutes in terms of your involvement with AFS and what kind of reaction to media to help them.
Yeah, so I can get. I just if I fall into the precipice, if I fall over the precipice into the get too deep, we'll have to come back up. But well, I just want to make sure we get everybody's voice in the room. It's just a reflection. This has always been funny to me when there are panelists and we're all asked to talk about things, and you get a group of us, and what are we talking about? We're talking about how important it is to be in community, to network, to speak and listen, and then we stand up and yap about it for a while. So there's always a bit of a contradiction about talking about collaboration.
We'll get to that.
But we'll get there. I have been doing work in organizations both large and small. So very large corporate engagements, looking at strategy, looking at mission, vision, values, and so on. But here in Ann Arbor, I've had a number of smaller entrepreneurial, often with the founder still in place or with the founder in transition, and looking at the particular problems that arise from that. And I got introduced through somebody who actually was very involved at AFS, was working out at AFS, and got to know Mike, and Mike was talking about scaling, and he was doing it in a certain way that my friend turned to him and said, "You should talk to Jeremy." And as these things normally progress, he went, yeah. And continued down the road. And then somebody else said, well, you should talk eventually he talked to Jeremy, and we got into this conversation. And I'll give you just one vignette, and then we can get into more depth about this as the conversation moves on. I remember being at a retreat early on with the senior team. And these were people who had been with Mike from the very beginning, had come up inside the organization, and we were talking about scaling. We were talking about what was possible to transform fitness across the country. There was a unique value proposition, and I'll never forget there was, and I was a part of it. We had charts up on the wall that were basically multiplication charts. It's like, okay, this is what 2 looks like. This is what 4 looks like. This is what 20 looks like. This is what 100 looks like. And it was a multiplication problem. And what it didn't do was look at what begins to change when you're one organization being run by a founder and 4 very closely aligned people. versus even going to 2. What changes when everything is not on site, under your fingers, able to be addressed and seen? And then what happens when you get to 3 and 4? And you begin to recognize that it's not a multiplication effect. It's actually a complex systems effect. That the number of variables begin to fold in on themselves to the point where you're dealing with a completely different set of problems. And well, we'll do this as a teaser, exactly what those unique problems are that arise in what becomes a large complex system, I think is really the key to a conversation about when and if and how we scale. And if you ever think of it as a multiplication problem, then you know you're on the wrong track. Then we'll talk about what that right track looks like. But I want to give the others a chance to introduce themselves as well.
Thanks. All right, yeah, so I'm Lisa Schultz, managing partner here. I've been here for just over 20 years, just had my anniversary in August, my 20-year anniversary. Yay. Thanks. I started as my hospitality career at Real Seafood Company back in 2003 as a server, and then in that year decided to move over here, which I'm glad I did. I was a server here for about 5 years, almost to the day, actually. There was opportunity for leadership and growth for myself, and I was able to move myself into an assistant manager role for about 3.5 years, which was great. That was my first leadership experience. So I'm born and raised and grown all here in the Roadhouse, which has been fun. There was then opportunity to become restaurant manager, and I moved into that role and was restaurant manager for about 10 years. And then during the pandemic, I started working on my path to partnership to become managing partner, co-owner, overseeing the facility, running the facility day to day. And that took some time. The pandemic had its effect on everybody, but it took me a couple of years to work through that path. But I've been in the managing partner role for about 2 years now. And in terms of scaling, well, the Zingerman's community of businesses is into growing unique, different businesses, but in terms of the Roadhouse, there's only going to be one Roadhouse. I don't have a desire to have 2 of them. This is enough for me. So yeah, different philosophies, different ways of doing things, but yep, we're more into building meaningful culture and concentrating, growing, developing, focusing on lots of Ari's work, which with dignity, respect, no drama, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So we kind of get more into building meaning in our culture.
Lisa, could you just, in terms of models, I know you're part of a unique model, and you talked about the long process to become a partner. Could you just say what the Zingerman's model of businesses is? I know it's complicated.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have our 3 bottom lines, which is great food, great service, great finance. We hold them all equally. I think some of you know the story, but Paul and Ari started the deli back in 1982. A small deli focusing on quality ingredients and great service, and then started to build from there on, can we make even better, higher quality ingredients, and should we do it ourselves, kind of a thing. And then it went from there. So the bakehouse started, you guys are probably familiar if you're from the area, but with all like the South Side businesses, Zing Train we have, but it's quality, it's great service, great food. We're all food businesses. But again, we focus on all 3 bottom lines. So
let's say I want to start here in Hawaii. I just throw something out.
Sure.
What would be the process that I have to do?
Yeah. So first you would approach Paul and Ari. Paul's kind of taken a step back. He has his business in Vegas, but he's actually back in town now. But he's not as invested in the organization like he used to be. So it would be approaching Ari with, say that you have a concept. So it would be an initial conversation. And then, there's lots of things beyond that, but, is there interest? What's your background? Do you have a vision? What does that look like? And if he's on board and it fits in with our model, then it would be writing visions, continuing to meet, and then actually going through the path, which is a whole separate thing that's unique to our organization, but is very laid out in terms of what you would need to do to get there. If you're starting a new business, I think you still need to work in an existing Zingerman's business for 2 years. I believe that's still part of the process. I was here in this. I didn't start this restaurant. I started in the very beginning of the restaurant, but it wasn't my concept. So I've always worked here, but I'm pretty sure that if you do create and come up with the idea of a Zingerman's business, that you need to work in an existing one for 2 years to kind of get it down.
Anybody out here who has an idea could have a coffee or a tea with Ari.
Yeah, bring it forward. He loves to meet. You know, Ari. He likes to talk. He likes to meet. He likes to talk. He likes ideas. He likes to see what's in your mind, what's going on. So yeah, you can approach him.
So, Bush, do you have an idea for an Indian food business here?
Yeah.
Lisa,
Yeah.
thank you. Let's
Yeah.
pass it on, and we'll get more opportunities
Sure.
to talk and expand on this Q&A. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to, kudos to Rob. Rob and I met back during Ann Arbor IT Zone days, maybe 97, 98 time frame. Amazing work you have been doing all these years to bring all the technology leaders together. But I came here in summer of '88 as a summer intern to work for Ford. So it has been long summer. I came here and really fell in love with Ann Arbor. And it says a lot about this community. I mean, just to kind of, seeing so many of you in the audience, it's like, back in 2010, when I was 222 pounds, AFS, his owner, Mike, got me started on the fitness plan back in the days, and this morning I'm 182 pounds. So definitely, then...
Includes a lot of things at the World House.
Yeah. And I always have an urge to go there whenever I eat my favorite food at Zingerman's, of course. But not to steal thunder from J-Lo here, I'm going to start calling you J-Lo. But what he's going to talk about, entrepreneurial operating system, is something that really works for technology startups and startups of all kinds, even the first, second, third stage of companies. And I'm a student of EOS, so definitely pay attention to what J-Lo has to say. But couple of more things, David, back, we were in 12,000 square feet office, and when nobody wanted to come to the office, our zone was declared as marijuana zone. So I got an offer on my building that I couldn't refuse, and then suddenly people wanted to start coming to the office, and David came to the rescue.
If you use that, you're going to gain the weight back.
Yeah, that's so definitely, check out David's in a place. And last but not least, Mark, can you please stand up, Mark Holz? Being in business for 35 years, I've been startup entrepreneur for 35 years. And I've worked with every financial institution you could think of. This guy standing right here, Saturday late night, when my entrepreneurial friends were telling they are not getting any support on their PPP loan, he was working with me and my staff late Saturday night to get our PPP stuff approved. So kudos to Bank of Ann Arbor for amazing work they do. But, and I can go on and on. Bill sitting here has helped in so many different ways. It's a community that I came to. Everyone knows Bill Milliken, of course. Yeah, Bill. I don't have to describe Bill. But I came here in summer of '88, and then 91 I started my first business. It came out of my engineering background, doing computational aerodynamics. We got lucky, right place at the right time. A lot of automotive companies were going through a lot of stylistic changes and so on. The business was headquartered in Okemos. It actually started with SBIR grant with a professor at Michigan State University. We almost grew to 300 people and sold to, business got sold to Wipro, that was their entry into engineering services division. But that time I realized that I really loved startup entrepreneurship. And I've been a startup entrepreneur since then. Then I started, ventured into telecom, international telecom business, had a lot of lessons there. But currently I'm part of 3 companies in Ann Arbor, GDI Infotech, which is a digital transformation, cloud migration consulting solutions company that my wife Swati and I started almost 25 years ago. Then there's another business, Info-Ready Corporation, which is supplying workflow platform to most major research institutions throughout the world. And my new company I started a couple of years ago called Sensei, stands for Sensible Cyber, providing cybersecurity platform to small, medium-sized businesses. I've been part of 3 Inc. 500 companies, so you can think of pretty much every mistake I have done in terms of scaling. How many of you are in technology business? If you can raise your hand. Because some of the lessons that I have learned may not be actually directly applicable to lifestyle businesses, but when it comes to scaling, there's a lot of experimentation in the technology business because a lot of times you think about this is what they want, but you end up learning that they want that, but they want different flavor of that. Until you find a right product market fit, there is no scaling. A lot of mistakes I have made is scaling prematurely without finding the right product market fit. And that's where EOS process can help quite a bit for those of you who are ready to scale up. I'm actually delighted to say that Info-Ready currently commands almost 68% market share of large research universities. And it took a lot of efforts to get there. It didn't happen automatically. I can talk on scaling topic for hours, but I'll let JLo here talk a little bit about EOS.
Yeah.
Dan,
Thanks,
I was
Bhushan.
looking for your walk-up song, and I couldn't find it on Spotify.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, I am really honored to be. I'm honored to be part of this amazing panel. So many fabulous stories and knowledge, and yeah, I'm really glad to be here today. So I am an Ann Arbor native, born and raised. Product of Ann Arbor Public Schools, went to the University of Michigan. I just never left. I married a woman that I went to high school with, and my entrepreneurial journey started over 20 years ago now when her and I started our first business, which is an online retail company selling organic loose leaf tea called Arbor Teas. You may have heard of it. So that was a really interesting first foray into entrepreneurship. I had no background in business in general. I was an urban planning consultant and got a degree in environmental policy and all sorts of stuff. And that was an interesting case study in the tension between, having grand ambitions for growth balanced against sort of a knowledge that, maybe, there's a right way to grow, or maybe growth isn't even necessary. I, at that time, was the one rooting for growth, and my wife, in all of her wisdom, was like, there's a lot to be gained by just focusing on being great but not large, and kind of in the small giants model. And so it went. So we sort of balanced each other out. That company got traction and grew, successfully. She's run that business for 20 years now, very deftly and successfully. making that company successful required dedication and expertise in the digital marketing space, right? We had a mortgage to pay, had to make sure that we actually connected with our customers online, and so I devoted myself to mastering those skills, and found that I had a real passion for that, and maybe a little bit of a knack for that. And so that sent me in a totally different direction, because I'm the sort of person that once I've cracked the nut on a problem and solved it mostly, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. I don't have the staying power. I don't have the staying power to turn the crank on a business for 20 years like my wife. So very quickly, I was enthusiastic about sharing what I had learned, and mastered, and went into the agency space. And I found myself on the leadership team of a digital marketing agency that was struggling with some real, mostly people issues, but lots of dysfunctions. And in our desperation, we brought on a professional EOS implementer. This was like around 2011, maybe 2012. One of the founders of this business knew Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction. That's the book upon which EOS is based. If anybody would like a copy, I have a trunk full of them. And I watched as we implemented the tools and disciplines of EOS, how many of our dysfunctions just sort of settled into place because they were, just symptoms of these, sort of weakness in certain areas of the business. And the light bulb totally went on for me at the sort of power and simplicity of EOS, which is it's short for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And my enthusiasm for that system was born. Fast forward a couple years, I broke off and I started my own marketing agency, and I ran it on EOS from day one. And contrary to many of my competition, who toiled under 80-hour work weeks, often with little growth or profit to show for all those efforts, our agency managed to grow steadily and profitably and healthily for every year we were in business, with great culture, a great work-life balance. And then eventually in 22, I decided to sell the agency and move on, and I decided to devote myself fully to helping other entrepreneurs have a similar experience implementing EOS in their businesses. So I am now a full-time professional EOS implementer. I work with small businesses, entrepreneurial enterprises, usually with between 10 and 250 employees. So that's about the size, and I help them implement this system. It's just a simple, practical, holistic set of tools that help entrepreneurs and business owners get what they want from their business. Because the thing that I have come to appreciate is all of us who have gone off and started businesses, we didn't necessarily go to school to run a company. We have inspiration in a certain field. We have maybe it's intellectual property or a passion to solve a problem or whatever. But we don't know how to run a good meeting. We don't know how to lead an accountable team. We don't know how to sort of clearly and simply articulate the vision of a business so that everybody can get behind it, right? And so EOS fills that gap, right, and helps visionary founders of entrepreneurial enterprises sort of keep the wheels on the wagon and actually achieve the vision, So I'm thrilled. I could talk about EOS all day long. Yeah.
We're going to move to interaction with the group and interaction with this group. I just wanted to say, as I'm listening, I realize I kind of belong in this business because I've been in business for myself since 1978. Never drawn a W-2 except for a few years when I taught at the University of Michigan. But one of the models I'm using right now is I brought in my great sponsors, and I thought, well, let's have sponsors could be an advisory board, and Matt and Bank of Ann Arbor, several of the people that you've met. And then, I'm 78, so I'm thinking, I'm teaching everybody that I work with a lot of family businesses.
about succession planning. And usually they don't listen, and then they have some kind of a medical problem, especially when they get into their 70s. Fortunately, they don't die, but they've had medical problems that they can't run their business anymore, and they don't really have a succession plan, so things fall apart. And so I decided, well, I better put this together myself. I'm healthy, but who knows? And so I decided to give back to you all and create LeadersConnect as a nonprofit. So rather than try to sell it, as some people do with their consulting businesses, I'm in the process now of trying to figure out how to make this a real community asset and give people a chance to do their own thing with this. I mean, for example, J-Lo here, you might think about, I don't know if we could do this, but a lot of people can't afford EOS. They're single. Would you run a group for 6-8 people? Yeah. So maybe if you want to participate in that system, talk to Jeremy, and you might be able to get something going. And that's the idea of this community, to try to get your ideas going. So a lot of people in here are individual proprietors. It's hard. But if you have an idea of creating a community, we want to make this a platform for being able to do this. We're not X, thank God, but we are a community. So if you have ideas about how we could be, and I say we now, could help by creating more for the community, please let me know. And I've got a great team. Let's, by the way, hear it for Megan, who's hiding behind here. Megan makes this happen, and she's going to make the expanded LeadersConnect happen too, as serving as our administrative person on that. And then Karen Tuttle, raise your hand, Karen. Karen is our in-house, well, I guess it's external, but contract digital marketing person, and she's helped me with my books, including the latest one, Pitch Time, Men and Healthy Aging, which I'm going to probably turn into People in Healthy Aging, because a lot of women said, hey, this is not for just men, this is for me. And another thing about making it for women, women are the ones who buy the books, not the men. How many 70-year-old people are reading, men are reading these books, self-help books? Not many. So anyway, we're in that process. But now I want to give, what we're going to do next is give the panel a chance to react to each other. And then we're going to kick it back to the audience and have you talk about your own process of trying to become, grow, sustain what you are, whatever, less choices. So, Lisa, I'll let you kick it off. Maybe you could react to anybody that you heard or add anything you want, and ask questions or whatever you like.
Sure. Does anyone have any questions? What's that? Yeah.
Can you talk about ideas about hiring and doing great hires, especially of people in administrative operating kind of roles? Or anything you have to say about...
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of hiring over the years in all different roles here at the Roadhouse. A lot of our staff, so we have managers, supervisors and managers and leaders within the building, but a lot of the staff here, we have about 160 between full-time and part-time staff and some occasionals in there. A lot of what we hire are high schoolers, which is good, which is a good thing. And I had to ask myself, not that long ago, I guess a couple of years ago, am I okay for the rest of my life working with mostly, honestly, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds? We have lots of other folks that work here, too, of various ages. But yeah, she's been here. Yeah, she's probably 17 years. Yep. Yeah, I probably served with her back in the day. But and especially during the pandemic, for anyone who's done hiring, it was, and for sure in this industry, probably most, it was very difficult to get folks in here. And so we did rely on a lot of young folks that hadn't had jobs. A lot of people didn't want to work, and that was okay, but we needed to run a business. So we've brought in a lot of younger folks. I mean, I can say the types of, traits and qualities that we hire for. Of course, like being enthusiastic, attention to detail. I mean, the things that probably most of you also want to hire for in any position that you are.
What other, those two, I think that's useful to think about.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we've been focusing on more, because we have a lot of unique things about our organization and restaurant, but we're open book finance, and we've been talking a lot about democracy and engagement and ways to be invested in the business that aren't mandatory. So we do have weekly, we call them huddles, but weekly meetings where we focus on finances and share a lot of financial information with the staff, so that they are informed, they know what's going on, they can contribute in any way that they can, and we encourage them to. What was I going to say? Oh, so during the hiring process now, I'm putting a bit more emphasis and taking more time with interviewing to let folks know that that you can come and just work a restaurant job. That's okay. If you want to come, you're in high school, you're in college, you want to work part-time, that's okay. Come in and do that. We still want you to be on time and be a great employee and all of those things. But we have lots of different avenues within the organization and restaurant to be engaged, and that would therefore, is helpful for everybody, but to make you a better person, a better employee. So we've been putting that's one of the things that I've really been focusing on when I'm interviewing folks and bringing them in, is to let them know that the preference is that we want you to be invested and engaged as much as possible, and we have lots of different avenues for that in the restaurant organization. Yeah.
It's a great question, and thank you, Renee. But I think I wanted to ask Bhushan, because I know Bhushan is hired Eric, which has really helped you, and I've worked with Eric during that process. And I know you had to decide who to go into business with. Is Swati here, by the way? Swati, you want to stand up, Swati? And Swati is partner in the business. Which one? You got new business going, right? What's the new business?
It's about Hi, I'm Swati. Good morning. So GDI Infotech, that's the company I run, which is IT solutions for digital transformation. Recently, we started a new service called LedgerLink, which is providing back office solutions to small and medium-sized businesses, and hope to provide that particular niche service, which is between being a full-time controller to somebody, just an entrepreneur doing his own books. So we want to provide that service. That's our newest one.
Thank you, Swati. And I don't know how in the world you decided to go into business with Bhushan, but I'm glad it's worked out. And you still are married, I assume. Yeah, you've got some kids that are successful, so you got the whole thing going. That's great. And Swati's going to help LeadersConnect. We're coming today to talk about helping us on the back end to keep things going. So I wanted to ask Bhushan about that same question about hiring and making also partnerships.
I think one thing Swati neglected to say that she recently got her PhD in how to avoid false starts in when you are hiring people. So that's a different topic altogether. But I think the hiring is so critical, because every time you build a business, you kind of think about the financials and operations and compliance and so on. But at the end of the day, it's people making things happen. So it's about, for really assessing the mind share, whether, because a lot of times it's not, what skills you have, but how do you solve problems together. And that comes with, more of a self-realization that especially when you are an entrepreneur, you're pretty much working in all departments, doing everything, that needs to be done. And you start thinking that I have answers to everything. But once you get to a certain stage, you start realizing that your knowledge is only a few millimeters deep. So that's where, for really having people about, how, they can think differently, especially in technology growth. It's very, very important because there are always, challenges at every stage. So how do you assess having people that are going to solve problems together? That becomes more critical, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add one point to bring this back to the question of scaling. So, your business plan is a speculation about the future. Hopefully it's a well-grounded speculation about the future, but it's a speculation. Hiring is a commitment to somebody that's life-changing event. And often what happens in small businesses that have an ambition to grow is that they hire to the plan. And I think you just have to be very careful when you're working with organizations that are trying to grow, not to assume that the plan is reality and to hire to the plan, because that can sink the entire ship. So, the little bit tongue-in-cheek advice I give when people ask about when do I hire, my answer is when it hurts. When there's something missing that can't be supplied by the current infrastructure, the people and so on, that's when you make it, as opposed to seeing, and I've seen it time and time again with early stage entrepreneurs, is they hire to this wonderful plan they've got without that plan having been grounded in reality yet. And so a stepwise approach is better for those who are running small businesses that aim to be larger.
There's so many things to talk about. I'm going to turn it back to you. One of the things I just thought about, though, is that the biggest hire is your first one. And that's particularly if you're going into partnership. So, there's got to be a lot going on there in terms of can you work with that person. I know a lot of people have chosen to stay independent. Rob Pasek is one. And that's because I offer a unique skill because I combine psychology and coaching and executive work. So that's kind of rare. And every time I've tried to partner with somebody, it's kind of only gone one engagement, and I realize they have their own shtick, and it's not my shtick, and people are expecting my shtick. So I've been, I guess, what's the word, self-confident, but also probably overly self-confident to realize that first hire, and I know, you were first hire probably with Mike, right? Jared, I don't know, or first partner. Is that, yeah, first partner. So, I mean, that takes a lot of trust for your partner to bring you on. How old were you?
Oh, boy.
He's only 22 now, so.
I was 29 when I became partner.
29, okay. And I know many of you were, you bring on a younger partner, that's a very scary kind of thing, but it's probably what you need to do. And one other thing about partnership, Pat and I, my wife, have been in a company for many, many years, Pasek Consultation and Coaching. There's a nice blend between us because I'm a guy that says, hey, let's do it, let's go, ready, set, no set, let's say ready, fire, so, and she's a ready, set, ready, think about it, and she'll come up with all the reasons why this is a risky business, and I'm ready to just jump out there, and coming together on that has been very important to listen to her, to get me to slow down a little bit, so. Not that much, but a little bit anyway. All right, I'm going to introduce Gwen Fredrickson, and she's an expert designer. How are you just defining yourself, Gwen?
I define myself as somebody like Rob who is afraid to grow. So I've been working for myself for over 20 years. And I'm now at a spot where my kids are grown and flown, and I'm trying to figure out, do I get employees? Which I think the answer is no. But I work with companies of all sizes. Most of the time they're nonprofits. So my longest standing client is University of Notre Dame, actually, because as a graphic designer, you don't have to be present in the area in which you work.
Gwen, I wonder if you have... Gwen, one of the dilemmas that we all have growing individually is when do we raise our rates? you know, you get to 20 years, you're at the top of the class, but you're competing with people who are startup. So how do you raise your rates? So could you ask a question to the group? Maybe from the group. What did you guys talk about?
Okay, so, what do we talk about in the group?
Yeah, well, whatever you want to ask. You know. Just hold the mic real close.
How do you get comfortable talking in front of a group of strangers? That's my question. So raising your rates, I guess that's a good one. If, you know, there's a couple schools of thought. One is if you're looking at 3 different workout facilities, I probably won't choose the cheapest one, Planet Fitness, because it's a lot less money. But then I might not have the money for the most expensive one, so I'll choose the one that's in the middle. And with graphic design, I think, well, I don't want to be the cheapest, but I don't want to be the most expensive.
Yeah, you should be.
But yet I've been doing this
You
for
should be
so,
doing
yeah. He's my coach.
Nobody's better than her. So.
Yeah. I've been doing it for so long that at what point do I have the chutzpah to say, no, actually, I'm worth this much, and be okay with somebody walking away or saying, wow, okay, she must be worth it.
So that's the question.
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a calculated decision, but if you genuinely believe in the value of what you're providing, putting out in the world, and you have a track record of success, people you can point to vouch for your value, you shouldn't, I wouldn't say astronomically price yourself out of the pack, but I think it communicates something different when you are towards the top of the range instead of being sort of in the middle, right? Because you are saying that you are the gold standard, and there are only certain clients or customers that you're interested in. And yeah, you have to make peace with saying no and walking away, but part of that is like moving towards an abundance mindset, you know, and really recognizing your worth. And yeah, I think you should raise your rates. You're probably 10 years overdue for doing it. Yeah.
That philosophy. Clap your hands if you like what Jeremy has said.
Yeah.
From now on, you want to win, you're going to have to be twice what
Yeah.
All right, anybody else want to?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment. Yeah, the notion of setting rates, it's kind of funny because it's all made up. You say a number and somebody says yes, and sort of there's got to be there's a business context, there's a market context, and so on. But at some point you say a number and you see what you get back. But what I think helps unpack that is going back to the why. And I think Jeremy was right on with that. Is if I'm trying to introduce myself into a market that's unfamiliar with me, I may want to come in at a lower price point. I may want to give some services away in a very visible way, in a charitable setting or something like that, where I forget about the money for now because I'm going to get some identity and I'm going to get networking and so on. So going back to the why is always helpful, and then everything he said.
Cool.
I think just to add to that, again, the lessons learned hard way, for doing the analysis in both ways. One is, cost plus margin. That what's the cost, what margin you want to keep, and how does it work on the business side of things. But also doing top-down analysis in terms of what's the value and benefit, and what's the what's the value you are bringing, and kind of coming in between, because always, trying to sell the value and benefits would allow to charge much higher pricing in any situation, but the market may not be able to afford that. So, but a lot of times, when I have done cost plus margin pricing, we have left in a lot of, money on the table.
What have you done in terms of when you have to hire a consultant? How have you thought about that?
Yeah, the question is when you have to hire a consultant, for what about that? I think the fundamentals really don't change as much as, it's a changing the mindset about, thinking through your product and service differently. so to speak. Yeah.
Hi, Gwen. So, I mean, we've been through this, as you know, several times in our business, the rate increase conversation. To all these guys' point, yes, Bhushan, the profit, the margin component, that's what we've taken into consideration. The value proposition, the why. I will add, I think this like belief component about what you are bringing out into the world, there's an actual value on that, and the marketplace will dictate that, right? For us, when we've raised rates, we've taken the marketplace into calculation. Like, what are our competitors charging? What are the services they're providing? What are we doing that's different? And I think that's the key. The different piece is going all in on the difference. So, like for us, there are a ton of Orange Theories and circuit training studios and fit body boot camps. You go in, you get a great workout, and you leave. There's a cost to that in this location, which is around $200 a month. For us, we were not going to play that game. We actually had to strategically look into, okay, what's the thing that makes us different? Which is, like I said earlier, it's more of this personalized strength training community value add that we're giving to the world. And then what is that worth? What are the costs that people are going to pay for that based on our experiences? And then also, what are the margins that we need to achieve? And then once we know that number, then we are backfilling it with the value. Yeah. So I think that's a huge piece. Yeah, any other questions from the small groups that came up in your discussions? And we'll throw the mic around. Karen. Oh, Karen's. Got it.
Yes. Vivid discussion. What are some of the topics that came up that you want to ask the panel about? Come on, folks.
I got one question. Oh, no, yes, please.
We just pass the mic so you don't have to.
Kudos to you for telling your story about actually downsizing, and that relates my name is Barbara Wells, and I'm the CEO of Laboratory Equipment Company that I brought to market from London, England. We have outpaced our factory's ability to make the products that we're selling in North America. So I want to know if we can use EOS to help us, and your story to help us scale down here and help me get out of this business. The British can't keep up, you know.
Barbara Wells, which is a beautiful English name, you know, so you could write spy novels with that name.
Yeah. So, I mean, fundamentally, EOS is designed to get any entrepreneurial business, whatever it might be that they want, right? And so if being smaller intentionally is what you want, all of those same tools and disciplines can be pointed in that direction, just as a company who might have great ambitions for growth would use it to chart that path and achieve that. So I think that it is both sort of business agnostic, right, subject matter agnostic, but I think goal agnostic as well. Yeah.
Who else has a question from the small group or just a question from yourself to this esteemed panel? Come on, here's your opportunity to get knowledge.
Karen?
I guess I do have a question. So I'm Karen Tuttle with Kleiza Design. I do freelance web and graphic design with some marketing experience. And I am trying to I know who my person is, like who I want to go after. I just have trouble finding them or getting in touch with them and reaching that audience that can pay what, you know, I have my rate that I have in mind. How do I find the people who can pay that rate? So.
Yeah, Bhushan, I'm going to ask you to take one because I know you've grown several businesses.
No, I think there are a lot of like tools available which would allow to build a lead gen database. There's a lot of technologies available and so on. I think the key is once you define what your ideal customer profile is, that's the biggest thing, because once that ideal customer profile is defined, then there are, for many tools like, Zoom Info and HubSpot and so on that would allow to collect the information, slice and dice the information, develop go-to-market strategies, build marketing automation, and so on. They're very sophisticated tools, sometimes too expensive, but there are for less expensive tools available. But I think doing more customer discovery first to define ideal customer profile is where I would recommend spend most of your time, because rest of it will be a lot easier to in the scaling scenario before that. So
I'm sorry. I just want to keep the questions going. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes. If you have to leave early, go. Usually go to about 1:45. But I wanted to ask Lisa. Honestly, the Roadhouse and Zingerman's has a reputation, high prices. People say, "Oh, I'm not going to go there; it's too expensive." Could you explain the philosophy of your pricing and how this sustains the business and how you grow with it?
We do get a lot of feedback on pricing, and honestly, I still don't think we have our prices where they need to be. I mean, we obviously have food costs and what products cost. I think the biggest thing and biggest challenge for ourselves is educating our customers on why we have the prices we do. Like I said, I think we're Zingerman's, we do source like the highest quality ingredients that we can get, which is fantastic. So it's about experience, it's about service, but it's really about the history, the message, the education around why we choose what we choose and how that sets us apart from where, the steak down the road or the pasta down the road or the spices from a different location. So yeah, yep.
Why do you think they should be prices even higher?
Because of the sourcing, the ingredients themselves. You can get a similar, it can be a steak, but there's obviously lots of things on our menu, but you can get a similar product at a restaurant down the road, and they might be charging close to what we're charging or even more, but I'm certain that we have higher quality ingredients. Some restaurants are doing Cisco and GFS, which all restaurants are on some level. That's just how it goes. But again, we get the best spices that we can from Canada. Our sourcing, we do a lot of local sourcing. We try to get the best that we can get, like our New Mexico green chilies. Those are from a very specific, special place. That all costs money. And so I think what we haven't done and we're really trying to get onto doing with regularity is looking at that. And when costs go up, we've got to charge more. And so having some routine around that is really important.
What about supply and demand?
Well, in what way?
In other words, if there's a lineup every night at your price X, you go to X plus 10% because people are coming. So you can make more profit.
Yeah, I don't think some folks may think we price gouge. We don't. We don't, honestly. If you look at our numbers, again, we talk about open book finance. You're welcome to come to our huddles whenever you like. Our food cost is usually hitting, it used to be up to 36% in certain years. We've gotten it down to hanging around 30, which is fantastic for us. That's super helpful, obviously, for the bottom line. Yeah.
We're going to wrap up with one. Let you each give a piece of advice. And we're going to probably start a video. We do this is all available online every week or two after. And let's thank our video people. Bill?
Yep. Thanks, Bill.
Bill, what's your company name? Podium, okay. So could you each think about, let's start with you, Jeremy, a piece of advice to this audience about this question we're asking. What's your top piece of advice?
Oh, man.
This has got 1,000 pieces of advice.
Yeah.
Brain is going, wow.
Yeah, I think the thing that we talked about the business today and what to do in the business. We didn't talk about ourselves as individuals and our own desires, our own aspirations, they're primary. And be clear why you're doing what you're doing, and that it's a place that really is the place to absorb your passion, and your likelihood of success goes way up.
Yeah, not to be redundant, but the old saying from Cynic, start with why. You know, I think that's the root of what we're all trying to do here. But what I'll add to what Jeremy said is, I think the people are most important, aside from the tactical, operational aspects of your business. Whatever the impact is that you want to achieve, whether it is trying to change an industry or whether it's trying to achieve freedom to spend time with your family and your loved ones, you're going to need good people alongside you to help that reality become or bring that reality into your life. So I would say whatever it is, whether you're staying local, one facility, or you are going global, bring good people on alongside you, and it will make the journey a lot more fulfilling.
Amen.
All right, on that same note, I would say that it's really, people are very, very important, but I would say creating a feedback loop and some way to understand your staff and know what it is that they might like in your culture or in your work environment. Again, we're all about creating a meaningful culture and work environment, but what's important to one person might not be important to another. So I would say making sure that you're creating, like I said, a feedback loop and some regular way of engaging with your staff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so everything that they said. I would also say, so in addition to like being really, really clear on your why, you know, why are you doing this? I think being really clear on like who you are, either as an individual or as an organization, like at your core, before you scale, right? Because whatever you are now is what you're going to be more of if you grow, right? And so getting really clear on what culture, what core values is this business running on? And then if there are some issues or some misalignments, you know, between values and people and things like that, get that straightened out and grow with a team that reflects the values that you want intentionally to be working towards. So.
Everything that has been said already. But I would like to add that there is a lot of help available here in the community, and you should make really good use of it, because I have made use of it. You know, I've been involved with Michigan Founders Fund, which is a network of technology entrepreneurs. If you are in technology business, it's a network of entrepreneurs helping each other, you know, raise the bar for state of Michigan. Swati and I, fund entrepreneurship center at Washington Community College, and our board chair of Washington Community College is sitting right here. That center alone had more than 2,000 entrepreneurs, lifestyle businesses that walked in to get the help. That help is available. Of course, you all know about Ann Arbor Spark, that again, Bill and Rob and others have been part of it, which helps entrepreneurs in innovation businesses. There's a lot of help available in our community. So connect with people, network with people, you know, who can help you think through a lot of the struggles. This community is amazing, like I said in my opening remarks, so definitely make use of it.
I want to add one thing. I've been a consummate goal setter for 50 years. I learned this from a African-American man I was working with in the theater industry in New York City in 1968, I think. When you set goals, and Gwen, do you mind if I share what we talked about the other day a little bit? Okay, so don't just think about, I want to make, you know, $150,000. I want to raise my rates 10%. Think about what that's going to get you. So, for example, I talked to Gwen. You know, raising that rate is one thing, but having a established business in the UP where her daughter is going to school and she loves, that's the goal. Not necessarily, you know, to have a cottage on a lake in the UP, or to, you know, fix up your house, or to put enough money away for retirement, to take care of your mother-in-law, whatever it might be. It's not just about the money, but what that money will do for you. And by the way, speaking of my mother-in-law, 150 years old on December 15th. So, and you know, I wrote the last newsletter about what her philosophy of life is, and I think it's about passion. It's about what you do the best in the world, and everybody has got something they do that they're really, really good at, better than most people, top of the pyramid. And then also, what's the lifestyle you want? I mean, do you want a cottage on the lake, or do you want to be in an office where you're generating money and that's it, and you're not getting out? So how do you want to live? And that's what you're in business for. I think that's what you're saying, Jeremy. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up. We'll see you back in January, where we have on the 17th, David Tarver is going to be talking about what we can do to raise the profile of businesses in the inner cities, Detroit, Flint, and how we could give back to those environments to raise our whole those profiles, but then raise up our own profile, because we are seen worldwide, not just as Ann Arbor, we're seen as Detroit, we're seen as Michigan. So what do we do to help others? Anything I'm missing? All right, we're going to wrap up. Take some food, take some treats from Bank of Ann Arbor. Don't leave the food, because it will be nothing to do with. I don't know what you do with the extra food, but let's eat it. That's the best thing. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bring the group together.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you.